Hey everyone, welcome to the channel for another Escape from Tarkov video. You all know why you're here. Battlestate has finally dropped the patch notes for 0.12, and we can finally see exactly what we can look forward to in the upcoming patch and get the hype train rolling full steam ahead. Plenty of things have changed and tons of new stuff is being added. There's a huge list of changes and improvements, and overall, I'm pretty excited by what has been released. This is surely to be the best update we've seen yet, and after reading the patch notes, I'm even more excited to sink my teeth into it. I'm going to dive into the major changes and additions first, and then talk about new items and weapons that have been confirmed, and finish off the video going over the quality of life improvements and bug fixes announced by the devs. So without any further delay, let's dive into these patch notes. The transfer to the newer 2018 version of the Unity engine is complete, and we'll be jumping into this upgraded engine in the 0.12 patch. This is promised to vastly improve overall performance and give the devs more tools to fine-tune the game and fix issues. Personally, this is the most exciting change, since basically it leads to an improvement in everything related to gameplay. On that note, the third-person animation rework is also complete and will be added in this patch, further improving performance and reducing stutters related to the animation trees. These two changes combined should go a long way to reducing stutters and frame drops, especially in those tense combat moments when you really need a stable image to play from. There were some questions about whether the hideout would be added right away with 0.12, and it appears we will indeed be getting access to the hideout with the new patch. This is pretty big news, as the hideout adds an entire new layer of progression to the game, since it's going to be a pretty big job to upgrade, expand, and learn all the ins and outs of the hideout. The patch notes don't go into incredible detail on what's available in the hideout, but it does mention a few things specifically, including that each zone of the hideout will give your character a unique bonus. One big new change with the hideout is crafting, the ability to create things like ammo, meds, food, and possibly other items within the hideout. This, in my opinion, could really open up a new method of budget gameplay by letting players piece together essential supplies instead of having to farm or buy them. Second, it is mentioned there will be some ways to improve the basic stats of your character, such as the healing rate and the speed you level up your soft skills. This sounds really interesting to me, as I think linking hideout progression to your character's effectiveness, even in a small way, could be a pretty good motivation for players to upgrade the hideout even if they're not terribly interested. With the addition of the hideout, it is confirmed we will be getting off-raid healing for our PMC character, meaning you will no longer fully heal after extracting. The patch notes say health, energy, and hydration stats remain after a raid and will regenerate while in the hideout. According to the patch notes, after dying, you will spawn in the hideout with 30% of your max HP. Nothing was specified about blacked limbs and whether they will regenerate, let's say 1 HP or something immediately after a raid. I really hope they do, because I don't want to be burning through the new surgical kit every time I get a black leg. You can use water, food, and med kits within the hideout to heal your character instantly, which is kind of how I assumed the system would work as well. You aren't going to be forced to wait around to heal up after every raid, and you can just pop open that spare grizzly med kit in your back room and you'll be good to go. On that note, apparently in the hideout there's also an option to heal all limbs simultaneously with a single use of a med kit, which is perfect in my opinion as a time saver. I couldn't imagine having to sit through 7 healing animations every time I extract and go to the hideout. The newest trader, Jaeger, is also joining us in the 0.12 patch. Not much specific is mentioned about this guy, but he will be initially locked and you'll need to complete some kind of quest to unlock him. It is then said he will have his own quest line and a large number of unique items available for sale. Pretty exciting stuff, and I can't wait to unlock him. We're also receiving clothing customization in this patch, 5 full sets for each faction, which can be unlocked in various ways, and most likely sold by Ragman. A highly requested quality of life change that I'm really thankful is coming for the 0.12 patch is the addition of savable preset weapon builds. The system is going to allow you to save preset builds for weapons, and then in the future you can simply click on that preset and it will automatically buy and assemble the weapon for you. If you're like me and just obsess over making every weapon functional and fashionable and spend way too much time in the modding menus, this is a very welcome addition. Not too much was said about the finer details of this system, but I really hope the auto buy option is well optimized to seek out the lowest price and not just buy the first available copy of each part. I can't wait to start saving weapon builds and see how overcrowded my preset list is by the end of the next patch. On this topic, the flea market interface is receiving some updates as well, and some much needed updates too in my opinion. Most of these are related to sorting your searches more effectively, but many of you will be thankful to know that we'll be getting a claim all button, so you no longer have to click on each individual bit of money and stack them one at a time. You can also now sort the trader's stock a bit more effectively, which is a nice change by itself, and one-click disassembly for all of your weapons. Likely the most anticipated piece of new content for many, the new map is going to be live in the 0.12 patch, and it comes with a lot of unique features. The REZERV military base, which I think the patch notes officially name Reserve, is promised to be the largest map currently available in terms of explorable areas. It might not have the same physical distance as Shoreline, but the several large multi-level buildings and tunnel systems really expand the surface area. Like labs, the map will have its own unique extraction mechanics, which they've been teasing on Instagram a bit, and I hope they are a nice combination of puzzles and combat challenges to get you to the extraction. The Reserve also features the first mounted weapons available in Escape from Tarkov, a 12.7mm machine gun and a 30mm automatic grenade launcher. Both of these scare the hell out of me, but as with most other FPS games, I figure as soon as everyone learns the turret spawns, they just become bullet magnets. Apparently, the military base will also feature what they call unique constraints to the location, snipers and minefields. Honestly, I kind of hope these are actually related to the extractions. In my opinion, it would be really cool to have to navigate a minefield or brave a sniper alley in order to reach the extraction, and it would add a whole new level of challenge to the map. The map will also feature a new scav boss, a 6-man team of soldiers that will fight using defensive tactics and prefer to engage you from cover and force you to take the fight right to their front door. Each of his soldiers apparently has a unique role, so I would expect their equipment to be fairly specialized. 2 roles are specifically mentioned: the stormtroopers that will rush the player, and the head watch that seems like a recon soldier that will spot PMCs. The boss's AI mechanics seem quite advanced and specialized, preferring to fight you from cover and dynamically shift positions to protect the leader and their location. The boss description also gives away an extraction mechanic. It says that as the train approaches, the boss and his team will try to occupy the landing platform. This likely means there will be a train that arrives for extraction, and I love the idea of racing the scav boss squad to the train and having to fight for your life to protect it, get on, and get out. In the upcoming patch, we're getting another new scav boss as well, on the Woods map, who operates in and around the sawmill area. It's been hinted at before, but he has a special stash located somewhere that can only be opened with a unique key that he drops after being killed. This loot stash is referred to as a common funded stash, but I honestly don't know exactly what they're referring to by that. The Woods boss is said to have a crew of 2 guards, and all 3 of them prefer to use long-range weapons and attack the player using covert ambush tactics. Sounds to me like he'll be a terrifying opponent, and many a player will likely get one-tapped by these bad boys. Over the last few days, the community has certainly been divided about the secure container changes they're testing, and it seems the devs have found a proper middle ground. Containers are being changed so that most other containers cannot go inside them, along with similar restrictions to the Kappa container in terms of limiting weapons and armor pieces from being stored. Personally, I'm glad for these changes, but I won't get into detail about my opposition to the full-on removal of secure containers they were testing. I'll just say I'm glad they're making some changes without fully limiting them. Another major change that was left almost at the bottom of the patch notes is that plate carriers or armored tack rigs sadly received a massive nerf. They can no longer be worn over standalone body armor. Personally, I really liked being able to layer armor and try out different combinations of protection, so I'm sad to see this change in some ways. However, I hope this is hinting that we will soon be able to add magazine pouches onto armored vests, and on the flip side, add armor plates onto existing plate carriers that are currently only tactical rigs. Of course, we can't talk about the patch without talking about new gear and weapons, and we're getting quite a bit in 0.12. First off, the confirmed new weapons coming in this patch are the ASH-12 assault rifle, FN-P90 SMG, M9A3 and FN-57 pistols, the TX-15 assault rifle, and the MP5K SMG. On top of this, we're getting over 160 new weapon parts and attachments, including a new thermal monocular called the T7. In the last patch, we got about 100, and that felt like a huge addition, so this really gets me excited. It's also mentioned that some attachments have been rebalanced, hopefully to break up the meta of everyone using the same 2 grips, stocks, and sights, which gets stale really fast. It was sort of vaguely stated as well that we'll be getting new equipment, which I translate to mean armor, helmets, headphones, and tactical rigs, including a rework to the basic AVS and Blackrock rigs. We'll also be getting the new surgical kit, an item that can be used in the field to restore function to a blacked limb, which will make some raids a lot more forgiving if you remember to bring this thing. Finally, I'm just going to quickly go over the highlights from their large list of quality of life improvements, bug fixes, and AI changes. Firstly, there's a ton of talk of optimization in the patch notes. That relates to pretty much every system in the game. I'm not really savvy as to the technical details, but foliage rendering, animations, and lighting seem to have received a lot of optimization. The AI has also received some upgrades, getting improved behavior when not in combat so they look more natural, and generally becoming smarter and more reactive, especially after being shot at. Most importantly, it is mentioned somewhat cryptically that scavs will be more likely to patrol close to loot containers and loot zones, a much requested change to help counter the hatchling plague. In terms of bug fixes, the list is quite long, but the highlights for me are the fixes to the error 228 when moving items in the stash, and a lot of fixes related to crashes. According to the patch notes, there has been some changes to loot locations and how loot spawns into the map. Nothing really specific is mentioned, but it does say that loot zones have been reworked and new loot zones have been added to some maps. Weapons will now all spawn with a random amount of ammo as well, which is great news, especially for the early game. Some changes to the loot pools on the map and the gear scavs spawn with are also incoming. Finally, one change which I really hope will work out well is an improvement to the spawn system, to help prevent instant combat and death after loading into raids. This will hopefully be a welcome change for everyone. The sound of prone movement has been tweaked as well, so snake in the grass strats got a little bit of a buff. That pretty much covers the highlights of the patch notes and what I'm mostly excited for in 0.12. I didn't cover every single line of the patch notes, but I feel those are most of the really important points. Let me know if I missed anything important and what you're most hyped for in the upcoming patch down below in the comments. I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/JDogTheWise, and I'll be going hard when the new patch drops. It would be great to see some more people drop by, so I'll leave a link for that down below. As always, feel free to leave any comments, corrections, or suggestions down below, and until next time, stay safe in Tarkov City.